interested in talking about something that I find intriguing, but might not be so concrete. Will you take a leap with me? Well, I'm thinking you're saying yes if you're continuing. So here right now, if you're listening to these musings in order when they were first created, it's around January. And at least in the United States and the Western world, it's common to talk about resolutions. And even if you don't make resolutions, it's common to think about what actions would you like to take, because it's a new year and it's common or typical to think of the last year, it's over. What are you proud of? What are you excited about? What would you like more attention? Even if you don't make resolutions the way I don't, many people don't. But still, it's common because it's out in the world. It's a vibe around this time of year to review the last year, if you will, change the words, and look forward. So I want to talk about being careful, taking actions in our lives that feel careful. And why do I want to talk about that, you say? Maybe you want to talk about adventure or breaking out or new ways. Well, we're all wired in a certain way through our amygdala, that part of our brain that protects us. It's a very old part of our brain that we especially needed when there were animals and life was, kill or be killed, or from our animal days and so on. You know that story. So when we are careful in our personalities, it's our amygdala that says, be careful, do it the old way. So for today, I'm going to call it the predictable way. We know that if we act a certain way, certain results will happen. And even if they aren't perceived always as the best, maybe we've thought we should participate in a class, or we've thought I should speak up to that person, or I should tell the truth. Really, I would prefer you not buy me that present because whatever. Or I didn't, that isn't my favorite color. Would you mind if I traded it for a different gift, a different color? Those things, even if we get the prompt to say those things or do those things, we often don't do them because we're choosing the predictable because it's safer. But sometimes, so we all know about the logical. That's predictable is kind of logical in the sense of our skill set or the strategy from our personality, right? Like we know the outcome, we know how to do it that way. I mean, I think everybody understands what I'm saying. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about something so illogical, but it's so common you might recognize it. So please hang in there because I will try to make it concrete, but it's a story first. So this person, Lucy, she offers to help Tim build his fence. Lucy's quite capable of it, and Tim needs the help. He needs some assistance. And Lucy wants to be a good neighbor and help Tim. Now, this is an extra job outside of Lucy's work and her household chores and responsibilities in life. So she tells Tim, I'll get to it sometime this month and fix your fence, build this fence for you where you need it. And the weeks go by. Lucy's life is busy. She doesn't get the fence fixed, built. Now, Martha comes over. Martha is her other neighbor. And Martha comes over and she brings a pie and says, Lucy, I know you love pies. I made this for you. And right away, Lucy feels tight. She feels scared. She doesn't have a gift for Martha, whatever I said her name was. And she doesn't want the pie. Even though she loves pies, she doesn't want to take this pie. She doesn't know why, but she has a very strong urge to turn down the pie, and she does. She says, well, I'm not eating pies right now, and it would really be better if you gave it to your family. And Martha goes away. Like, oh, I thought you liked pies. I made you a pie. You're not very fun to connect with. And I thought I was doing something loving and opening for our friendship. Geez, oh well, forget you, basically. Or maybe she's a more abundant person and generous and thinks, maybe I'll try again. But a lot of times, think when someone doesn't receive your gift, how much do you want to offer them another one? Give you a minute to think about that. The way I am, I'd have to have a good reason to make another pie or do something else for her. I'm sorry. It would be nice to say that wouldn't affect, but it would for me, and maybe for you too. And if it isn't about the pie, you'd make another pie. Think for a minute about how would you feel if you gave your best something to somebody and it was bigger than a pie, and you really tried hard to give them something they wanted, and they just, no, thank you. No. And it goes with little things like compliments. You try to show up and go, wow, I love how you think about things, or I love how you look today, or it doesn't matter whether it's about a look or a personality, character, quality. How many people go, thank you, or, oh, yeah, no, I don't really look. I mean, I just threw this together, or, yeah, no, I don't see it that way. I don't think I'm that good at what, right? How many of us turn down the gift of another person? And while we're on the subject, who thinks it's easier to give than to receive? Raise your hands. Now, maybe I'm not the most generous person. Maybe you're not the most generous person. But how are we about receiving? Think of it. Isn't it scary? A lot of people find it scary to receive. What is it that we feel when we're scared to receive? Oh, I'll owe them something. I'll be in debt. they have a secret motive for giving that to me, right? We have duplicitous thinking and suspicions. Now, maybe you're different, but this is very typical. But now I want to add one thing to that made-up story. When you've turned down somebody's compliment, or you've turned down, let's call the pie just a symbol of life's abundance, more joy, more connection. Let's think for a minute. Let's just take a moment to say, what do you want more of in life? That's what this time of year could be about. What do you want more of? You'd like more connection. You'd like to be able to show up in the world without being in a role, without having to be nice, without having to be kind, without having to pretend in some way. Just show up as yourself. How amazing would that be without makeup or symbolic makeup? Or what if there wasn't a price tag? Or what if it isn't relationships you want more of? What if it's more time alone? What if it's a connection to God or the infinite or the divine, or whatever your words are, or maybe to an ancestor or someone who is no longer alive? Maybe you would like more money. Maybe you would like more specific things. Maybe you need a lawnmower or a generator or a different place to live. Doesn't matter what you would like more of. I want to add one thing about the pie story, and now we can plug in what it is you want, because most of us don't care that much about the pie one way or the other. But go back to Lucy turning down the pie. What if Lucy felt kind of better than when she turned down the pie? Like, we don't eat pies right now. Or somehow a little bit elevated, or like a more humble person when you turn down the compliment. Isn't there, if you think back on it and you're really honest, can you find a way that, or the memory of how you feel a little better, by turning it down? Like, better in the sense that I'm a better person. Just for that moment, it's illogical. Don't go to logic, because logic won't get you there. But just remember that feeling. Maybe the compliment is the easiest one to remember. There's this feeling that you're doing the right thing when you turn it down. Am I resonating? Is that making any sense? All right. Now I'm going to go to the part that's a little bit symbolic. So stick with me, if you will. So back to the story. Lucy didn't finish the fence. She didn't complete it. She didn't help him. She said she would, and she didn't do it. Now she's feeling guilty. She knows she's feeling guilty. And she kind of hides when she sees the neighbors outside. She doesn't want to see him. The month just went by. She didn't mean not to help him. It just escaped her, but she feels guilty. We know the feeling of guilt. We did something wrong. It's a perception that we did something wrong. And then when life offers us something wonderful, and maybe you don't think a pie is wonderful, so substitute another offering. It's illogical, but because of the guilt from one place, our subconscious mind does this and feels better because we kind of punish ourselves. The unworthiness we feel from having made a mistake, and the mistake could have been 10, 20, 50 years ago. And then we turn down things because underneath our conscious mind, we connect up. We don't deserve because of that one thing. Are you with me? Because of some of us have one specific thing. Like I did a lot of things I felt guilty about. But some of us hold on to a few specific stories, maybe even one. I made this mistake in my adolescence, and for that, I have to be small the rest of my life as punishment. It's not connected in our brains, our conscious brains. It's illogical, right? Illogical. But I promise you, it's so common. And just knowing that we do that can give us a new opportunity. And that's the important reason for my telling you this. So if that's true for you, the way you can tell is that you still feel badly about this thing you did or didn't do way back. And there isn't enough, whatever that punishment or whatever this you're holding yourself with, unworthy thoughts and punishment and, recriminations, there isn't enough that eradicate it. And guess what? There isn't going to be enough punishment. You've already proven that. But let's not go the way of punishment. Let's be conscious that our minds work in this kind of kooky way. And so what's the answer? Well, one of the answers is radical appreciation, radical gratitude. So if you're kind of a mental type, you won't speak or think in exaggerated forms. And we've all been taught gratitude. My goodness, it's everywhere. It's probably in every religion. It's probably in every spiritual process. It's probably everywhere. It's logical to be in gratitude. But the people who teach us gratitude do not have exponential gratitude. And you can tell from their lists. I'm grateful for the heat in my apartment. I'm grateful for my clothing. I'm grateful for blah, 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 blah. The list, the gratitude list. Who says, oh my God, I'm grateful for the paintings on my wall. I'm looking at the paintings they're actually photographs of the family that I have. Look at that laugh on that nephew. Oh my God, it's touching my heart. Do you hear the level of exuberance? That's what I'm talking about. Because can you see it's the opposite of no thank you, no thank you, no thank you. So a couple of times recently we talked about predictable. So predictable is saying no to life, but the possible you've already imagined. And even if you don't believe it can happen to you, if you want more friendship or more connection to spirit, you can imagine it. That's potential. But life has more possibilities. And there was a look for the Thursday musing on that. Life has more possibility than you can even imagine. But here's what I think is necessary, and I'd love to hear from you if you have other ideas. But how to break the paradigm of no thank you, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you is yes, 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 thank you, yes, yes to life, yes to you, yes to whatever. I don't mean thank you to things that you think are not safe or not good for you. But here's what you can do. And this comes from the last video, which I think was on, is like conscious positivity. So if you still think somebody in your inner life isn't safe, you can still protect yourself and stop at the place of judging them. So you say no, thank you, but in your mind you stop from saying, and you're a this and you're a that, and that's why I'm not blah, 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 blah. Don't tell the story. Say no, thank you. And I do appreciate that you've offered me something. Find some true gratitude. Because here's the thing, maybe they have shifted and you're not willing to see it just yet. If they haven't shifted, when you think the worst of them, you're going to think the worst of you too. And that's what we're trying to do here today. Let's stop punishing ourselves and saying no thank you to life when you're just saying, I'm punishing myself for the not fixing the fence. In the story, it's just a symbol. So infinite, exponential gratitude. Raise the roof on your gratitude. Find the gratitude all day long, but in an enthusiastic level that you're not used to. Say it out loud. Say it quietly. Say it silently, but raise the vibration. Are you willing to try it? Are you willing to do this week's experiment? Exponential gratitude and conscious positivity, meaning your eyes are wide open, you're being discerning about what's going on or what you think is going on, and yet you're not going to judge the person because that judgment will come back on you. I promise you, you won't get free from the burdens of your perceived guilt when you're being the judge and juror on the other people, on their essence. You could say no thank you to the offer, but don't judge who they are. So when you're voting, this would be like voting no thank you for this candidate, but we don't have to go to he or she is this and that, because some of us have found out it takes us to the dungeons. It's not necessary. Vote the way you vote from your perceived thinking, but it's not necessary, because we think we're all separate and it won't land on us. I promise you it does, and it will. Even if we don't believe it, trust me, it does, and it will. So I'm excited to see what happens to you. This has been life-changing to me. And maybe I'll talk about that in a whole video. But for now, thank you so much for being with me to the end. Bye.